Hi guys, and welcome to the opening episode of the Chant LFC Talkshow, which will focus on today's Community Shield match with Arsenal, which the Reds have just lost on penalties after a draw in 90 minutes. I'm Des Duffy, a long-time fan of the club, and I want this show to throw some light on passionate Reds who are banging the same drum as you and I here on Twitter. Tonight's guest, Jack Moore, is both cutting, funny, and a talented musician. Above all, he's a Red all the way through to his backbone. Welcome to the show, Jack.
How you doing, man? Good to be here.
It's good to have you on, Jack. Tell me, what part of the world are you calling us from?
Right now, I'm in Warsaw in Poland. Very randomly, but yeah.
See, you're effectively a traveler, because when we spoke 2 to 3 weeks ago about you coming on for one of these shows, at the time you were in Belgium, I think. Jack, do you get around a lot, or
right? Yeah, I think probably more than I'd like to admit during this kind of time, but yeah, I've been quite a bit over Europe, like in the last kind of month or so, I suppose, because of music and just some like business things. But yeah, like I've enjoyed parts of it as well. I'm not gonna lie, there have been like a few that could be classified as a vacation, I suppose.
Well, hey, the thought of a vacation at this time is not a bad thing at all. So you are a musician, you're a professional musician. I've heard some of your stuff. It's absolutely outstanding, and we'll talk about that. But let's take a minute or two on what we've just seen. So the charity shield, the charity shield, as it used to be called, the Community Shield with Arsenal. What did you make of it? Just a quick comment at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was obviously quite difficult viewing in the first half. I don't, we looked really, really rusty, and that kind of like the preseason vibe had kind of continued into our game today, I suppose. So everyone's rusty, and I think we can forgive that. It's not like it was the most important cup in the world. It's still obviously classified as a friendly. So, but we got things together in the second half when we put Naby on. And obviously he's a lot more progressive than maybe Milner was. So a little bit disappointed in the midfield. Certainly in the first half they weren't really offering a whole lot, and we were having to rely on Robertson quite a lot to throw in some balls that weren't really coming off so well. But yeah, in the end, it's a little bit disappointing, I've got to say.
A little bit disappointing. I think that's fair enough. And, I agree with your point that, ultimately perhaps not the most important game that we'll play this season. But I guess we've got used to winning the shiny things, right? We've got used to winning cups and stuff. And that's the mindset that, Klopp would want in himself and his team and the supporters, that we are disappointed. Certainly not the most important game, but it would have been nice to have walked off Wembley with the big old shield, as it were. Now, listen, Jack, I have been following you on Twitter for a while. And, as I said in my intro, I find you funny, but I also find you cutting. And I quite like that about Twitter. People do have personalities. If you look for them, they're out there. There's plenty of personalities within the Liverpool fan base, of course. But I wanted to bring up, I've just put it up here on screen, just some of the types of tweets that you put out there that I have to say, make me giggle, right? I giggle from time to time. So this one came out at one point in the Community Shield earlier on today. Mo's haircut, right? You've targeted Mo's haircut. Hasn't had the desired streamlining effect on his game. Very nice. Sky Cava, right? Yeah, I mean, what a tart that bloke. Did not escape your ire. I genuinely would love to see Sky Cava fired from a cannon into orbit. Would be utterly wonderful TV. I'd have to agree with you on that. This is a guy who I think, I think we'd all agree. But he thinks Frank Lampard has the magic touch, right? He thinks Frankie Lampard can sign any player. That was quite amusing.
Yeah, I caught that clip, I think I was about to go to bed, and it just really just irked me. I couldn't believe what I'd seen. And I was like, there's just so many things were running through my mind, that could be seen as more attractive than Frank Lampard himself as a manager, trying to actually attract these players with his words and his influence. It just seemed ridiculous to me.
Absolutely crazy.
Chelsea have an abundance of money at their disposal, as well as obviously the attraction of living in
Yeah.
London is a huge draw for players. I don't think he has to do a whole lot of work, to be honest. I think Hodgson could have quite easily achieved the same
Yeah,
thing, if not.
I think it's. I think it is a Marina's $300 million budget that is much more likely to be attracting the big names to London. Leon Goretzka doesn't escape your notice. Looks like Chieti's former self. You've been piling on the pounds, Leon. You reckon? I thought that was quite funny. Messi's kid calls him Messi. Makes sense to me, of course. Does the guy even have a first name? I'm not sure. He may do, but you're right. And I love this. I have to say, Jaime's, I mean, he's James to me, right? James Rodriguez. I'm ready. And there's a picture of the guy looking sort of muscled up to play and get smashed by our under-23 side. Love it. Love it. Let's get Everton in the cup again in January if we can, please. That would be amazing. So there we go. That's just a little sense of Jack and the way he tweets and his personality and stuff. I must admit, I find that quite amusing. This is Jack's Twitter page. Do we call it a page, profile, whatever it is? Do follow. He's good value. But when we talk about you as a musician, right, I just wanted to sort of drill down into this. And you're not the most promotionally orientated musician that I've ever met, Jack, because I didn't really understand how good you and your group are, right? I didn't really sort of get that. You need to do more of that. But if we just drill down into Smith, Lyle and Moore, and you can tell us a bit about this. Like, here's a sample of the music.
And some days you are a motherfucking werewolf.
That's just beautiful. Lovely stuff. And listen, if motherfucking doesn't get us taken down, the copyright almost certainly will. So we may have lost the show already. We'll have to see. But
It's a bit of a problem for our promotion. We realized, we're like, oh, well, what's going wrong here? And we're like, oh, we said motherfucker. Yeah, that's probably what might have.
Listen, the song, I only came across Werewolf today, and you cut face with Danny Harrison, of course, George Harrison's son. You've got some amazing music out there. What are your plans? I know you're gigging in Poland and around Europe at the moment, but not with this group. These guys are based in the States, but you've got an EP and maybe an album coming out, the EP in September, maybe the album at some point later. What are your plans there?
Yeah, I think right now, obviously, it's just such a weird time for music and musicians alike, because obviously everything it's set up very difficultly. Like, we can't really go out and play live to promote the EP, which is something that most new bands would rely on, just like going out and just guerrilla gigging everywhere and trying to get some interest that way. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic and everything that's happening at the moment, we don't have that outlet right now. So all we can really do is build up a fan base behind the scenes, like with the recordings that we have at the moment, and just I think we just got to rely on the recordings to get people to hear it, really. And hopefully by the time everything clears up, we'll have a solid kind of foundation to go out and actually play the shows, because we're kind of itching to do that.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
But
I mean,
at the same time, it's an interesting time as well, because so many people are just sat bored at home. So I guess it's a good time to go out there and find some new music as well, because a lot of people are just sat there bored and they don't know what to do. So absolutely. I don't think the recording side is going to suffer as a result of that. But suddenly the live show is pretty non-existent right now.
It might be interesting to see. When we get out of this pandemic, Christ, it can't come soon enough, right? But there seemed to have been a rich vein of creativity early on in the pandemic. A lot of artists doing live shows from their home, deep sets, changing sets every other night, that sort of stuff. A lot of people doing, I saw Snow Patrol were doing like writing sessions with their viewers on Instagram, which produced an album. It'd be really interesting to see what comes out of this whole thing in another 6 months, whether in fact we're then flooded with really creative or pandemic inspired music.
I think Yeah, that's a really interesting point because it's, like obviously so many people are going to have so much time on their hands to get creative with the music, and I think we'll have a lot of like COVID habits. It's almost like, like when it's New Year and then you have the babies, like, like everyone's having kids 9 months later in September. It's going to be a
Not in
little
my
bit
house,
like
my
that.
friend. Not in my house. That is not that is not happening. We've done that, been there, done that, not again. But listen, talking about having babies and talking about music DNA and stuff like that, you have got it flowing in your veins. I was joining the dots. You know, who's this Jack Moore guy that I've invited on to talk with me this evening? I was joining the dots slowly, very slowly, as I do. And I discovered today that your dad is Gary Moore, an absolute legend of the blues, rock, Thin Lizzy, he wrote Parisian Walkways. I mean, I grew up with that music. I hadn't known that he was your dad. I mean, what have you taken from just that heritage, that musical heritage, and has that inspired any of the work that you're doing yourself?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, obviously it's always been around me, like the music and everything. I've just grown up with that always being there, and like I'd go and see my dad play live a lot of the time. I'd be very immersed, and
Oh
he'd
yeah.
take me with me on work and stuff, and sometimes I'd even go out and I'd play shows with him as well. He'd bring me on for a couple of
Oh, it's
tracks
amazing.
which was really cool. I remember, yeah, like one of the first shows I ever did, he really threw me into the deep end. He was like, right, you're gonna go and do a solo now, but I'd only played to maybe like, I don't know, like just bars or so before, maybe like 20, 30 people, and man and his fucking dog in a bar, whatever. And yeah, he goes, you're gonna come out and do the solo now. But it was a festival in Holland, and I think the audience was like 20,000.
Jesus, Jesus.
So it was a little bit different, had to have a few glasses of wine before that.
Well, he obviously had
Uh,
trust in your ability. I mean,
yeah,
of that.
it was. You know what though? Like after a certain point, like in the crowd, the audience just kind of blurs, and you feel kind of secure. It's almost more intimidating with less people because you can see everyone watching you then, and it's a lot more. It makes you a little bit more nervous, but obviously it's like a massive buzz when there's like thousands of people out there, and like
Absolutely.
you get a hell of a lot of adrenaline. So
Absolutely.
that
Well,
was pretty
listen,
cool.
Dad, the great Gary Moore has been dead, crikey, 9 years. Do you miss the
Yeah,
fact
nice.
that he's not around to see where you are today?
Yeah, of course. It's like obviously one of my like massive regrets that I never got to show him the music that I was making because I was on that path, um, but he really never got to see like the final kind of fruits of my labor, like working on it all those years and whatnot. So yeah, it's a real shame, and I'm sure like we would have written together as well if he was still around, which would have been really cool. But
Yeah, well, our thoughts
couldn't
are
be
with you
bothered.
on that one, Jack. I have to say, let's just look on the bright side. Maybe he's up there with Shanks and Bob, and just talking other stuff on a
I
day
like
by
to
day
think
basis. We've got to hope for that, right? So let's go back to football, right? Let's go back to football and today's game. I've just put it up on screen, and for anybody who doesn't understand this Sofa Score chart, right, that we're looking at here, you've got a green bar and a blue bar just at the bottom of that screen there. The blue bar,
yeah, sure.
it reflects the pressure that Liverpool had on in that game. So you can see that
Right.
pretty
Oh wow.
much for a very, very significant part of that game.
Yeah.
The pressure was coming from Liverpool, and it was quite significant in areas. I would say we opened strongly the first 10 minutes. We looked like we were going to be comfortable in the game. Then they scored, and they looked dangerous. Is this an improved Arsenal team? Has Arteta had that sort of impact this quickly?
Honestly, it really does look that way. Like I've been pretty impressed with him since he's taken over. I think they have actually a lot more identity than we've been used to seeing them since. I think they're in the best position since Wenger left. Honestly, I think Arteta is probably the guy to take them forward from this point. He seems to have a real kind of clear picture of what he wants to achieve with the side, and they're not as reckless as we've come to know Arsenal as being. They seem to be a little bit more organized, and it's getting better. So I'm good for Arsenal fans. They should
Yeah,
be in the mix.
it could be a spicy race next year, and I don't think Arsenal are in the running for the big trophy, but they could definitely get back in the running for top four. One would
I
assume.
think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course we don't fully understand how much Chelsea and Man City will continue to spend. They've obviously spent a great deal already, so that
Yeah.
might really take them away from the likes of Arsenal. But they could mix it up. It could be they could be taking points off of City and Chelsea and United next season.
They're a bit of a wild card, I think. They're definitely going to be hovering like thereabouts. I think, I would expect them at least to improve a couple of places this year. Like, probably, I would say at least top six. So they're going to be hovering thereabouts.
Yeah.
Just,
No. So listen, talking about Liverpool now, and I think that's ultimately if we do have an audience in our first show, they'll want to hear about Liverpool. So my question is this: arguably, we've had a week's worth of preseason more than Arsenal, according to the commentary team this evening. Not sure if that's accurate or not, but that's what they were saying. We should have been strong enough, based on what we saw last season, based on the current squads, based on the whole fitness thing, the prep, and based on the fact that we clearly wanted to win that. I think Arteta prior might have been a bit wishy-washy about whether he thought his team could win, but we wanted to win. Where was the game lost?
I think, honestly, I think it was our own doing. Like we should have been better. We are a better team than them, like as a whole, like by quite considerable amount. Like, and we're stronger all over the pitch. But I think maybe the midfield was found wanting. Certainly in the first half today, I didn't really see enough creativity from them. And too often, honestly, we're having to rely on like our fullbacks. And they're so consistent that we seem to kind of take it for granted that if one of them is not on it, then we're gonna suffer. But like today, the case was that obviously we're missing Trent, and he's such a massive influence on the game for us that if he's out, then the opponents can really afford to put all of their attention on Robbo, and then it makes us pretty predictable. In all honesty, like if we don't have Naby on the pitch, then really everything's going to run through Robbo.
Absolutely.
And he's got to pick out some world-class cross and just hope someone gets on the end of it. Otherwise, we're a little bit limited, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at that chart I just put up on screen, you can see that pretty much all of our main play came down the left-hand side. So Mane, I think, worked his socks off, right? The guy sweated for the club today. Of that, there's no doubt. Maybe he didn't have the same cut and thrust that he has had on occasions. There'll be a little bit of preseason there as well.
He
looked dangerous.
If we're playing poorly, like he's the one that just never hides. He's always just out. Like he's always trying to make something happen, even if he's not on his game. Like he's got his head up and he's looking to make things happen.
Yeah.
So he didn't hide.
I tweeted after about 25 minutes that Mo had only had 3 touches of the ball in the first 25. Mane in the same period had about 24, 25 touches. Not Mo's fault, although arguably, he should be showing for the ball, right? And a lot of that was driven by Robbo, who I thought had a great game. I mean, for me, possibly the man of the match. I'm not sure why Maitland-Niles took that, but I thought Robbo had a great game. It was great to see him sort of looking dangerous with his crosses again. I think we've lacked that a little bit recently. But we weren't getting that service on the right-hand side, whether it was coming through Neko, whose accuracy was well off on his passing today. And to be honest, nobody wants to be up against Aubameyang on Wembley, right? Because it's so wide. He looked a little exposed there. Jenny looked a little quiet today, I thought, also. But do you think did we miss that whole track on the right-hand side? It just, they managed to sort of knit us into a particular part of the field.
I think certainly like Mo, like in particular, would have missed Trent's distribution today. Like he seemed a little bit lost without him. He's so used to like Trent just finding all of his runs. He knows him so well as a player by now. They have just such a great understanding between them. And as you say, everything seemed to flow down the left today, and that left Mo with very little. very little service. Unfortunately, he wasn't really able to get in the game and stamp it in.
Yeah, were you surprised? Were you
with
surprised that?
Arsenal.
Sorry, Jack. Were you surprised that the boss picked Millie to start over Kaisa?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, like but then obviously my first inclination was like, what the fuck? Why is he leaving out Navigator again? But then I thought about it. I was like, okay, yeah, Nico's actually got a lot of work on, like trying to defend Aubameyang all game. So maybe his thinking is to get Milner on that side, but actually it really didn't pan out that way. Like Milner actually shifted over the other side, and he really didn't offer Aubameyang he didn't offer him any cover at all. So it was quite a weird tactic, honestly, from Klopp. That I thought he should have given Nico a bit more cover, but yeah, I think honestly it was more Genie, like, who was supposed to take his side, but he didn't really do a great job either.
Yeah, which is odd because I mean, Jenny, the one thing you can almost guarantee is a level of performance. That might not be top level, but generally he's reasonably consistent. There's a lot of speculation about Jenny, right? He's in the last year of his contract. There's talk of maybe Barcelona being interested with Koeman having come in there. There's obviously a huge amount of talk on Thiago and what he might bring to Liverpool's midfield. And there's a lot of views on this. There's a lot of people saying, and rightly so in the community, people shouldn't be talking ill of Jenny. He was in our midfield when we won everything, and hey, you can't argue with that. But there's a lot of people saying, on the flip side, well, Thiago Alcantara is a world-class midfielder and he will bring something new. Where do you stand on this whole topic?
Yeah, it's a really contentious one, isn't it? I mean, obviously Genie's been an incredible servant, and he's been real, like, paradigm of Klopp's tactics, especially in like what he's drilled into the players. And like a lot of what he has done, I know, like, people joke about it a lot on Twitter, like he does go missing in games, but he does the dirty work, and he does the underappreciated things that people don't necessarily see. And he just he keeps the game ticking, and that's what Klopp has wanted from him, and he's done that. It's not. I think it's more down to Klopp, what Klopp has asked of him, than Genie, like, choosing to be safe. Because if you watch him play for Holland, like, he scores pretty regularly for them, and he gets himself in positions in the box, like, where he's going to score goals. But he doesn't do that for us, because that's not what we ask of him.
Agree.
Anyway, Thiago, on the other hand, is just he's phenomenal. For me, he's probably one of the best midfielders in the world right now. Like, certainly on form, and to be honest, he has been for years. If we're honest, he is able to fulfill a lot of roles. He's always trying to break the lines. He's very positive. Often, he doesn't get a huge amount of assists for Bayern, but he's that one that he'll play the pass before. And
It's exactly that. His forward passing stats are very, very positive, and you're absolutely right. He's the guy who gets the pass in for the assist.
Yeah, that hockey assist. Yeah, completely. Like, he'll play passes that like defenders just haven't even thought about. Like, you could, like, if you watch what he does, it is like some of the passes he plays, like, you wouldn't even be able to see on the screen, like, let alone like how he picks them out on the pitch. Is just incredible. He has such incredible vision. Like, he'll create space for the attackers just by playing some incredible pass, and then it's up for the wingers then to supply the final ball. And he's just been a really important part of that Bayern team, and I think he'd be incredible for us. I'm not sure what kind of role the Klopp would have in mind for him here, but he's just inherently such a talented player that I don't see how we couldn't benefit from having him on board, to be honest.
Yeah, well, time will tell, and I don't think we'll have to wait too much longer. I think I'm tempted to imagine that if the club are going to do something, they're probably going to do it reasonably quickly. And I know there are lots of issues with the number of sort of young English players in the club at the moment, and money, and there's all sorts of things. But I suspect Klopp would want some for planning. to integrate him in, because it's not unusual for a new player to take 6 months to a season. And we've seen that several times to bed in. So I would imagine that Klopp would want to get a bit of a pre-season with them.
Tactically, because we have no idea how he's going to utilize Thiago. If we do get him, so I'm sure the sooner we get him in, the better, so we can drill that into him. Because even someone as experienced as him has got to adapt to Klopp's tactics and what we want of him. Because you honestly never know with Klopp what he's going to do with the player. So the longer we have with him, the better.
Yeah, and tell me, Jack, if I put you out there, if I ask you to nail your colours to the mast, can Liverpool retain with Gini?
Can we retain Gini?
Can we retain the Premier League with Gini in midfield?
I mean, that's I think so. Yeah, But I really just don't want things getting stale. We can't be one of those teams that just rests on their laurels. We've got to mix things up a bit, because the more that we play like this with the same team, the more the opposition is going to be able to understand how to play us. And we become a little bit more predictable like that. So getting in a couple of new fresh faces can really help mix things up and keep us, keep the opponents on their toes a bit. I would like to see Thiago come in, if I'm honest. Whether that's at the expense of Gini, I'm not sure, but I really think we need him in, because I don't want to see us get to that point. If you look at us historically with Klopp, every year we've seen a different kind of style of play, and I think he's going to do it again. I think he's going to shift something tactically that we're not going to expect. Well, and because you got to deliver the unexpected when it comes to these things, because it's such a highly competitive league now. Everyone is strengthening. People, the other teams are going to be getting closer to us, and we can't allow them to catch us. Chelsea is spending a fortune.
Yeah.
FFP is just completely out the window now, so that there's an absolute disregard for that. We can't spend like the other teams can, so now we have to rely on Klopp, like we have done so often and so heavily.
Yeah.
He's got to be the one that brings it home again. We can't, because we can't afford
absolutely
any mistakes at all, because there are other teams completely ready to pounce. And unlike us, they can address all of their issues by going out and spending 50, 60 million on a player. It doesn't bother. It's not a problem for them. They can do that. They've got the money to do that. But we're doing it a little bit more grassroots, and we have to actually coach our players into playing, unlike Pep.
Yeah, and I think that's always been the Liverpool way. How many youngsters have we brought through that have become world stars, from Gerrard to Fowler to, Owen, if you like, and a ton of others. Yeah, it's the Liverpool way. And the fans, I think, are big adopters of that. Listen, Jack, I've got a few questions for you here from some of our viewers. So let me go to those. I'm just going to say to guys, I've just put it up on screen. If you want to get involved, if you want to ask Jack a question, you can do that on WhatsApp. So you can call us, right? We can get you up on air. We can have a chat, and the number is up on screen for you. Or you can tweet your question to hashtag Chant LFC, and we'll keep an eye on that stream. And we'll ask Jack your question. So do get involved. But some of the questions that are coming in, Jack, and we may have covered off some of these, so let's go through. Is Liverpool looking to reinforce more players, or is the manager okay with his current squad? I think we've touched on that, haven't we? What did you make of Tsimikas coming in?
He was the one I wanted, honestly. I feel bad for Jamal Lewis, because obviously that would have been,
he was screwed, wasn't he?
They're like, I feel really bad for the kid, but Norwich, that's on Norwich. I think, we're not ones to really bar to that extreme, and we walked away. And Tsimikas was the one that I wanted. I've got to be honest. He looks like a carbon copy of Robbo, to be honest. He's obviously not at that level, but I don't think we're going to suffer as much now when we don't have Robertson, because before we had Milner on the left, and he just doesn't provide anywhere near the kind of outlet that Robertson did. So I'm glad we've got something in the same mold as Robertson, and we hopefully we'll do better for that.
I think Robbo, I mean, for me, Robbo still a clear number one, no question there, but he's very high energy, right? So his role is very demanding. He's going to require rests. So it is reassuring to have some cover there for him. Do we need another centre back?
Do you know what? I think we do. And if we had the money and that wasn't going to come at the expense of strengthening other areas which I think we need to prioritize, like the wing, then I'd say, yeah, we should go for another centre back. But I don't think we're really in that position where we can do that. I think we might have to. We have options there. Like we've got Cometio coming through as well. He looks solid. Good. Yeah, he looks like a bit of a beast, to be honest. He's about 6'3" or something already. So like, I think we might be good. Also, Fabinho can play there as well. We can shift Gomez out to the right. Yeah. I think we can tweak that. I'd much rather get a winger,
Yeah.
Because God, like the front three, they just have such an immense workload, and it's honestly, people forget how many games they get through. Like they are on the team sheet week in, week out. There's rarely a time the Klopp can willingly afford to rest them, because they're the fulcrum of our team, and like having them together is just it's so important. But we really haven't had the opportunity to rest them anywhere near as much as they should be.
Do you think Sorry, Jack, you carry on.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I hope we keep Shaqiri if we're not going to buy a winger, because he's a very capable deputy to right wing, in my opinion, and he hasn't really had the chances that we'd like to see of him. But I'm not sure what's going on there with him and Klopp, but I'm not sure whether there's been like a niggling injury that we haven't really spoken about, or whether Klopp just doesn't fancy him as a player. But every time I've seen him come on, he's really impressed, and he's someone that really looks to make things happen. So if we don't get a winger in, I'd be happy with keeping him.
Absolutely. I was at Anfield when he just inspired against Man United. It feels like a long time. It feels like a long time ago now. Tell me, does Rhian Brewster have a role to play this season?
Yeah, that's an interesting, wasn't it? I think I said before the match today, I would have liked to see him get a chance from the start, just to get Klopp to evaluate how he could be against one of the stronger opponents in the Premiership. But unfortunately, he didn't get the minutes today, and I thought it was a strange idea to bring him on with 1 minute left.
Yeah, disappointing.
Just basically to come on and take a penalty, which he then missed. It was a real gamble, honestly, from Klopp. I would have liked to see him from the start, actually. But my inclination now is he'll probably go to Sheffield United, which will be good for him. Like I think if he can get a season under his belt in the Premier League, we'll certainly see the benefits of that next season. He looks like a really, really talented.
Yeah, he knows where the goal is, and obviously a big part of that skill is being in the right place at the right time, and he's got bags of that. So I think you're right, Jack. I mean, I'd be of similar mind that without playing him today, I think Klopp is sort of signaling he's not in my plans for Leeds United. And that tells its own story. I've got some more questions for you. This is an interesting one. Does Klopp think it's time for a new tactic and mentality in the squad? Is he looking to evolve to a 4-2-3-1 so we can see more of Minamino starting as a number 10?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, historically he has progressed tactically over the course of the time he's been with us. So I'd be inclined to expect that he'd shift something next season. Like I really couldn't tell you what it is. Like only he knows. But last year we started playing a bit more of a higher line. It could just be like a little tweak like that. Whether we go 4-2-3-1 would be a really interesting one, because we wanted Werner, and that was probably Klopp's top target until Chelsea pounced and we couldn't afford him or whatever happened there. But I think if we did manage to get Werner, we could have seen that shift, honestly, because I don't think we would have seen him replacing any of the front three necessarily. But if we could have played Mane on the left, Salah on the right, and then Firmino behind Werner, which would have just been like a crazy attack.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what he was thinking, like before he signed him, or like certainly with him, we would have had a lot more options than we do now. And honestly, it remains to be seen if he's going to tweak anything. But I think that really depends on the personnel and who we're going to sign, because I don't think there's anyone really strong enough for that first team. So I don't think Minamino is quite ready yet to be a mainstay in the first 11. But I think there's a player in him. We could see some kind of shift in the future, I'm sure. But right now, I think that's not who we bring in.
I think that goal will do his confidence the world of good today.
He
looked stronger when he came on there in any other games that I've seen. So touch wood, there is a player in there. But, the other thing that we should all bear in mind is that, when we get into sort of a pre-season or a closed season, fans get excited, right? We've got to be talking about something. And it's easy to lose sight of the fact that we're the champions of everything, right? We haven't had a bad last 15 or so months, and we won't want to be tearing that up completely to restart. It's about building on as opposed to making dramatic moves. But with all of that said, did we learn anything today that should give us confidence or make us a little bit worried for the season ahead? Did we take anything new?
It's I really think I should know better by now than to really take stock after the preseason games, because historically it's not really indicative of how the season pans out necessarily. Like, people are not really quite up to speed, and I think their minds maybe still a little bit elsewhere. But I don't think what we've seen today should be like a massive indication. I don't think we should be worried necessarily about our campaign at this point. Even though we weren't great today by any stretch of the imagination, I think once the season starts, like Klopp is not going to allow that kind of mentality. We'll be ready. I think
we'll be fine. That's what I think. I think it'll be an exciting season. And do you know what? If we're running a tight race, that could be fun, right? It's going to get the blood rolling, which ultimately is what we want. A bit of a quick fire round, Jack, right? I've just gone into my bookmarks on Twitter for some of the things that have caught my eye in the last day or two. Let's discuss a couple of these. So 90 minutes, but I think this was done through the FA and what have you. Would you make any changes to our Community Shield combined 11? Have you seen this? What the hell were they thinking?
I saw it and I quoted it and I just put blocked. I blocked them for that because it's the monstrous.
I blocked them.
What the fuck are they thinking? They've taken out our fullback.
We didn't get a fullback into the team. What the hell?
Dual Arsenal Liverpool team. That is just I don't know where to start here. Also, they put Xhaka in. But I've come to understand that these sides, they want bites, so they're going to put a few screwballs in there to throw people because they know that people are going to respond. They're just all of those big football sides, they're essentially just trolls with a lot of followers. So they can't seriously be telling me that they put Bellerin over Trent. Well, the best right back, you're gonna put Bellerin.
Yeah, I mean, it's just insane. Anyway, I think you and I are thinking alike on this one. Next up, Peter Moore, our ex-CEO now. Shame to see him go. He's posted to my city, thank you for some wonderful memories, which I assume means tomorrow or the day after he's going to jump on a flight to John Lennon and be on his way back to the States. Did he do a good job?
I think he's done. I think he's done great. Yeah, I think he's overseen the lion's share of Klopp's project, and I don't think he's put a foot wrong, honestly. But it's going to be interesting to see how our next guy does in the future. But
Billy Hogan, who's done a really fabulous job, from a commercial point of view. Doesn't get involved in the football side, nor indeed did Peter Moore. So, no worries on his commercial acumen. I think the question will be whether he has that human touch that Peter Moore has brought, because Peter Moore has
Yeah.
shaken a lot of hands over the last 2 to 3 years. He's gone out, he's met the fans, he's active. Billy Hogan, to my knowledge, doesn't have a Twitter account, which isn't, a requirement of the job, of course. But it's sort of it's pretty important with Liverpool to be able to identify with the fans and have the fans know you.
I think having a human touch is really important because, we're one of those clubs that really, like, we're known for our fans and that kind of human connection that I suppose, like, a lot of clubs don't have, So yeah, I think if he's a personable guy, like, the fans will take to him as long as he does the right things behind the scenes.
Absolutely. So, okay. So I don't know if you can see this, but tag a mate who'd have this tattoo. So, who in your circle would have this tattoo, Jack?
Oh man, it would take a lot of
I want that on my face, right?
Yeah, maybe on your chest could be good.
Oh, that's fantastic. But I mean, that's the level. That's the
Pretty
level
good
of
detail,
love. I mean, hey, the tattoo is great. I mean, the quality of the work is excellent. And I think that's the level of love that Klopp has. There's talk that, the boss has said that, in 24, when his contract is up, he will, he's going to take a year out, and who knows whether he will or not. And who knows whether he'll come back or not if he does. But there would be an outpouring of grief if Klopp left anytime soon, I think.
It's going to be really, really bad. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, we don't even think about it.
I don't even want to go there, honestly. I'm still quietly hoping that he might change his mind. I guess it's up to us fans to convince him. But yeah, I haven't got used to the idea that he won't be there for my entire life. It's going to be like losing a relative or something at this point.
Yeah, listen, he's such a bright guy that I suspect, he would have an active role in choosing, his successor. And I think he understands what's different about our club and what the club needs. Because that didn't work over at United, and still continues to be a struggle for them, finding a successor. Yeah. But yeah, we don't want to think about Klopp going. LFC transfer room. Right, the lads are talking about Mr. Wijnaldum and an interest from Barcelona. I think we've done that one to death. James Pearce, Klopp on Brewster. In the moment, he is part of my plans. Well, we sort of had a discussion about that. It didn't feel like he was part of the plans for today. So we'll move on there quickly. Jamie Webster, right? So I don't know if you can identify with Jamie Webster. He's been doing a lot of promotion. Let me just play this.
It's like by far exceeded any expectation that I had for this. I think when I initially signed it, it was top 50. Do you know what I mean? And then set our sights on top 30, top 20. To stay in the top 10, top 20.
Yeah, so Jamie, a bit of a legend of Liverpool cultural folklore and what have you, and produced some great music, club-orientated music, and he's now, setting out on the road to, wanting to be discovered as an artist in his own right, singing his own music, and, we'd be massively supportive of that. He's got to number 1 on iTunes this week, and I think his album came into the charts at number 4. I mean, that's an amazing sort of set of release numbers, is it not? Are you there, Jack? Hello, Jack. Jack. Okay, guys, listen, I'm going to make an executive decision here. I think we've lost Jack. Unfortunately, digital airways and all of that, high tech. We were coming to the end of our session, so I think I'm going to close it down unless we hear him come back in the next couple of minutes. But we'll give him a chance. He's just disconnected, so he may well.
Hey.
There we go. There we go. I was just saying he may well be trying to reconnect. So I don't know whether that was the internet or what.
I thought this might happen actually. Like I didn't prepare for that eventuality that someone might call, and it completely disrupts the feed.
Okay, well, I've taken a
yeah,
learning
so
from that.
shutting down the court.
So, Jamie Webster, can you identify with this journey that he's currently on, Jack?
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously it's great for him. He's really captured a moment in time with the Liverpool fans, obviously with that performance out of Madrid and everything. So I'm sure he's got, he's going to do better off having the backing of the Liverpool fans. Like, it's really not going to hurt his case at all. And hopefully we can push him to the position where he becomes established as an artist, like even with even beyond our following and beyond Liverpool. So yeah, best of luck to him, man.
How would you feel if you ever heard Anfield or the Cop or whatever singing one of your Liverpool inspired tunes? Would that be a very cool thing?
That's a thought. I hadn't thought about that, but that would be absolutely incredible. Jesus.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah, that would pretty much be the best thing ever.
Yeah, I see.
So yeah,
Mr. Mumford put out a very balladic version of "You'll Never Walk Alone" just at the start of the pandemic.
Oh, you did?
I don't know if you caught that. It was a really nice piece.
Oh, that's cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah, do check that out. It was quite nice. So what else have we got here? Alison, check out the new haircut. I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, he looks real different there, actually.
I'm not massively big into haircuts, but there you go. And I think,
fresh.
Yeah, I think that's probably it. Why don't we finish on these last two? So this is another mural. So Liverpool, I mean, if you're an Everton fan in Liverpool, right, it must be a tough place to live at the moment, because the city has been painted red, and some of these murals look absolutely superb.
That's fantastic. I love that one.
Yeah, it's like a defensive wall.
God in the middle as well, next to Virgil. Wow.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. Correct. And I think that's Kenny on the end, on the right-hand side. Let's wait and see what Kenny, the finished product is, but it looks absolutely superb. And maybe we'll leave our lightning round with this, because this is Anfield looking a resplendent, Nike signs and all, awaiting Leeds United. It looks pretty damn good. Do you think we'll get back in before the year is out?
Yeah, I think so. I think progressively, probably we're going to introduce, like a smaller section of fans. Maybe like I don't see why we couldn't just divide people. Like why not just have one person for every 3 seats at first, and then we could slowly start introducing more people. It was a concern of mine, because Liverpool are that having our fans there is just such a huge thing for us, that they're such a 12th man, and they always have been. So it would be a massive loss, honestly, if we don't get the fans in this year, because they're a massive help to us. Like, I think more than a lot of clubs.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think we've missed them. In our last few Premier League games. I think we missed them today. So it would be a beautiful thing to get back to Anfield. So listen, Jack, the last question I have for you tonight, and I really want to thank you for your time. It's been fantastic. Is what Reds do you follow? Who would you call out as a Red for one of our viewers to if they want to add to their following? Who should they follow?
That's a good one. I guess there's a few people that I always keep up to date with. I guess like Moby Hake is one. Dave O'Cobb obviously is, he's like one of the biggest ones that I'm sure like most people are already following already. And then there's Sean, I think it's like Chant LFC, or like he's fucking there's a few real good ones out there, but God, I'm kind of blanking now, but I might have to get back to that one.
Well, I put you on the spot, and it's not easy to remember Twitter handles, right? That's like the hardest thing in the world to do. But we'd say to you guys, there's plenty of great Reds out there to follow. Follow them, unfollow them. Keep everything curated, but there's some really strong points of opinion, and never never as strong as during a sort of a pre-season as you're heading into the new season with all of that sort of excitement building. So brilliant, Jack. Listen, it's only left for me to say thank you for your time this evening. The best of luck with the EP when it drops in September. You know, we're going to tweet about that when it drops, so please make sure you let me know. And hopefully you'll come back and join us on the show at a point in the not too distant future.
Love to, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Beautiful. Okay, guys, that is Jack Moore. And that's us done for the night. So that's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed the show. Drop a like and a share and all of that sort of good stuff. Do try and get the message out there. And hopefully for the next one, we'll get more of you guys calling in and